going to be PxG taking this
Reno
first step.
is your second team to qualify.
Secure their spot in the
Looking like
qualifying
it's the
field,
qualification
taking on the
just
Splat
like
World
that.
Series again.
Cricket is looking at qualification.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Global Gauntlet Rewound, where we take a look at some previous matches that were not featured on stream. Today we have a really good one for you today. We have PxG versus CutieNK, two top teams, one from the east, one from the west, and we're getting started to see how they went up against each other. But my co-caster, Frostix, why don't we explain a little bit about these teams?
Of course, PxG, CutieNK. Let's dive into PxG first, featuring Gray, Soldier, Noah, and Goss. And these names are commonplace, at least within the Western scene. They show up to frequent tournament rounds, and they have a 92% win rate across all their matches on Sendo Inc. Talk about consistent. Gray on the blaster, the custom blaster. Goss is going to be on Zap this time around. Of course, Soldier's known for their slosher, and Noah will be on leader for this match.
Yeah, very strong team, but their competition, they are no slouches either. CutieNK. Now, this team, they have won Area Cup twice, and they were actually the first team to win with a bow, so there are no slouches around here. And Nine, in fact, is a roller one trick. So if you're a PxG, roller is a little scary. You have to be all very aware of the really wide hitbox. Make sure that it's painted really well. Make sure the map's painted really well so it doesn't get a lot of value. But of course, CutieNK is going to be very able to just pan around, make sure that Nine can just get anything that they want going. And a little bit about Kure, the bucket player. They are very consistent. They are a top Japanese bucket. So I expect a very good match from these two teams today.
Definitely so. I feel like if you're PxG, you talked about how Nine could be really impressive if they are in the right places in the right time. So a lot is maybe going to be riding on Goss on the Zap, maybe also Soldier on the slosher. A lot needs to be put in to just paint the ground and make sure that someone like the roller, or maybe even the shots on CutieNK just is dealt with here. We're going to game number 1, which will be a random stage.
No, I believe they did pick Barnacle and Dime, and actually, I think this map can go. It is random. This map is very good for both teams, I will say. I think Nine can really take advantage of the streets on their side, make sure they can, go a little bit around the enemy team, go around the zone, make sure that their team can capture it. But let's see what these teams bring out. Gray with the custom blaster, kind of a very good weapon here. You can use the splashdown to clear out the plat. You can use the blaster plus a bucket combo to do a lot of damage, to just have this area where the enemy team cannot go on the other side. Kind of what we expected from CutieNK, a bunch of one tricks that are really good with their weapons, and so far we're going to see how they use that to their advantage.
Now, one thing I really want to highlight on PxG specifically is their attention to vision here. They're running Custom Blaster, which has the point center, and also the E-Leader with Wave Breaker. That's going to be really good for scoping out anyone trying to push in. And already PxG, they have a lot of forward momentum. They're already trying to back up here as Noah is retreating to some safety, while Gray, on the other hand, is wreaking havoc on Plat. Kai is going to try to disrupt them here, but Gray staying alive, ensuring that the stack is at least in their position. Now Kai is going to pop a Bazooka, but they have been caught out by the rest of PxG, who have gone 2 members down. That's a solid stagger, and they're still in control, Topic.
I mean, yeah, they're just keeping Nine right there at bay. The rest of the team for CutieNK is trying to use those strikes, able to get through with Kure there, getting a nice pick onto Noah, looking for even more. Unfortunately, they're going to go down, and I think I will really much like to credit PxG for they're doing a lot of capitalizing on these mistakes made by CutieNK. They are getting them caught out. They're kind of collapsing really well, and you can see right here that leash is extending more and more, but CutieNK not want to go down without a fight. You see them still trying to go for these backlines. K getting a nice trade out there. There's a lot of trades going down back and forth, but even through all that, PxG, they still have Splat, at least contested. They have to do a little, they have to deal a little bit with TKF on the bow, but so far they've been doing a really great job of just keeping the zone and Splat in their color.
I think right now, CutieNK, at least within the last couple of pushes, they weren't really occupying a lot of space as a group. They've been making a lot of individual pushes, but immediately they are learning from mistakes. They are pushing into mid as a unit, and now they're going to be taking space together as well. You see Q-Ray, I think, as well as, I think that's Kaya on the shot, trying to take Splat here. And now, look how much space is blue right now. We have a wave breaker from Noah ready to pop. 9-9 with Pip, and now they're jumping back into position. They're trying to just take so much space. Soldier has the strikes ready to pop. There's a lot of potential specials ready to be deployed from PxG. I think they're just waiting for the opportune moment to go. Here comes the splashdown from Gray. The strikes from Soldier. Zone is now into neutral, and the rest of PxG are starting to advance. That's Gray getting Q-Ray as well as Kaya, and TKF is now running from Gray and Goss as the zone has flipped, and PxG are right back into control.
Yeah, like you said, CutieNK, they pushed up really quickly, but PxG saying, hey, we're not that slow either. They're pushing up really fast. Those strikes plus splashdown doing just enough to get the space, to get CutieNK away from the zone. But now they're in a really precarious spot here, because you see those strikes plus jumps plus 9-9 here is going to be a very, very dangerous combo. Unfortunately for 9-9, PxG says no and just gets a really nice pick plus a wipeout on top of that. So now kind of back to where we were about a minute or two left in this game. You see PxG, they're going to be pushed up. Gray really up on this part, on this top left side, unfortunately shut down by TKF. They are out of their penalty points, but we got to be a little bit worried here about this advance from CutieNK. You see 9-9 is going to be in position alongside TKF, is looking for a way to get in, but PxG is just covering the entire plat with both roller plus bow. 9-9 going in, getting a nice pick there, and just doing enough to stall out the enemy team, forcing back some jumps in the vicinity of Q-Ray there, and so far it's working out really well for CutieNK to get back in the zone and just hold on as they're able to do that, plus a lot of damage as well. They're just taking over for the moment.
Right now, they're 2 members down. The strikes are coming out from both sides. A Hexa strike has come out, and the strike war has been won by PxG, who are advancing forward once more. Gray's splashdown, unfortunately, being cancelled out by 9-9. There's 1 minute left on the clock, and CutieNK have 34 penalty as well as 42 of their own points. They need to stay in control for a while, and with Q-Ray immediately going down and their strikes user going down, things could be a little dicey. The sodas are coming out from Goss, and the rest of PxG are advancing forward once again. Gray is invading 9-9's bubble, and that is the knockout from PxG.
I mean, just very, very solid. They did a great job of any time that CutieNK, they tried to get the attention towards the other side, away from their team. PxG, they caught them out, they got the pick, and they didn't let that stay there. They didn't let them keep that paint. They didn't let them really get any momentum off of that. And you see here at the very end, they just did a really great job of not overextending, not putting their necks out too far. But Gray says, hey, that bubble is mine. Nice pick there to kind of wrap up that game in a nice little bow here. And I think if you're CutieNK, that is a very not demoralizing game, but you played it close. You got locked out a couple times, which is very, very common, one would say, on this map. So I think if you're CutieNK, your best bet is to go to a map that really allows kind of that freedom for 9-9 to pop off, because we saw a little bit earlier when CutieNK had control. If 9-9 is able to get in, the rest of the team is fast enough to follow up and get a really nice lockout.
Not only they do what they want to pick a map for people like 9-9 and also Kai to also thrive in, you really need to find a way to just shut out Noah here. When you don't have an eye in the sky to worry about, your front lines will have much more of a time, just taking space and taking picks, just allowing themselves to be pushed up in a very, very key position here. Already, 2 maps have been striked out, Roboramen and Surgeon here. 2 maps that I'd say have pretty good sightlines and some vantage points. And is that Humpback IC? That, I'd argue, is a roller's paradise.
I mean, yeah, it is indeed. The ledges and the curves can be used really well to Nana's advantage. But for CutieNK, this also is a very good map for PxG. They have Soldier on Bucket, very strong here. They have Gray, if he 6-foot that custom blaster, very strong here as well. Splash can both clear out the trench and get onto Plat as well. So if you're a CutieNK, you gotta have a plan here. You gotta make sure that you get Nana in the spots where they're a little bit hard to detect. What is a little bit better for them is that TKF can do a lot better because the bow can sit on the bunker and shoot from above and just make sure that you're not in the sight lines of Noah's leader, because we all saw if you're in those sight lines, it's not a good look for you.
Definitely so. You want to be working around the natural cover that Humpback has to offer, and 999, unfortunately, a pick onto the roller really early on, that could be a lot of momentum swinging into PxG's favor. The zone is heavily in yellow, but now we're playing a bit of dodgeball, trying to like avert from all of these projectiles and sub-weapons coming out from CutieNK, and an immediate flip will allow CutieNK to start pushing in. 99 is starting to threaten these ledges. You want to ensure that you're not on the receiving end of that roller. Gray, they're a little bit isolated here, and unfortunately they're going down. Kaizuka has been brought out here, but they're also in an isolated, they're going down to DOS.
Yeah, they are going to go down there, so very unfortunate timing for CutieNK. And another thing I want to mention here is that CutieNK, they're running coolest, so these fights that they take have to be a lot more calculated, because if they lose a unfortunate fight, an unfortunate pick right there, they can get a lot of space given up of how long it takes to spawn. But Nana says, hey, I'm taking it in my own hands, getting a nice pick there as well. But in the overall match of the overall flow of the game, PxG, they're holding on really, really well here. They're not allowing Nai or Kure to really get around them. They're keeping everything in front of them. They're making sure that Noah stays clean. They're making sure that zone is painted on both sides, though, even though you see the chumps are at the ready. So you know CutieNK wants to fight within those here. You see them trying to go in. Unfortunately, they are going to go down, able to recapture the zone here in a very, very scrappy fight, one would say. And now CutieNK, they have the ability here to possibly get the lead and push a little bit further here, as the Zuka's coming out, forcing away some members of PxG, but they're not going away for long.
Yes, a set of strikes will now immediately cap the zone for PxG. Now we're seeing Kaya jump out. 99 have already taken some chip damage, and now Gray's trying to get some chip onto Kure. They're now going back into the safe graces of the rest of their team. Some strikes are now coming out from Kure as well, which will immediately flip the zone. And now 99 is on the attack. They've gotten rid of Soldier. They have gotten rid of Gray as well in a trade. 2 members down on both sides. TKF is now charging up their chumps to ensure some safe entryway for a retake, especially with Gray having a splashdown and with Soldier having the strikes. And they didn't even need to use those specials to cap that zone here. So now that they have all these specials ready to go, they can use them on the offensive. They've already gotten rid of Kure here. TKF is going to be able to get rid of Gray right now. And now the zone has been flipped once again into CutieNK's favor. They're holding this lead only by a hair, I'd say.
I mean, look, I will credit CutieNK. They saw who had specials. They targeted them. They got them down. So now if you're PxG, you're kind of on the back foot here. Those strikes are to come out alongside Goss and Gray going to try to recapture them. They are able to do it relatively easily here. But now, can you advance is the question that needs to be answered here. You see that they're trying to force them back. Unfortunate jump. The unfortunate jump is not able to get it, but 3 members down for PxG once again. And it feels like CutieNK, they've just done a really good job. Even though they don't have coolers, they can't really push up a little haphazardly. They're just making sure that they're watching their size and making sure that no one gets behind them. They're making sure that if someone gets damaged, there's at least somebody else to follow up on that, though. The strikes are from CutieNK are going to come out and at least try to neutralize it, which they are able to do, and allow 99 to just stay in that bunker area very, very easily here alongside those chumps. So every time it feels like PxG has tried to recapture the zone and tried to get in, it's just 99 here just being an absolute menace, getting a nice pick there as well.
And what did I say earlier? You do not want to be on the receiving end of a roller under a ledge here. And already, CutieNK are out of their penalty. I think Soldier has some strikes ready to go. And with 1 minute left on the clock, and with the single digits of approaching, you need to cap this zone. There's only Noah left. No one from PxG will be able to cap the zone. And now the set is tied up.
Yeah, I want to point out one thing at the end there. We saw that Gray did push forward and try to get down TKF, but if you look at the top of the screen, the rest of the team went down. The two biggest painters, both Goss and Soldier, went down. So even though Gray did extend, they did manage to get down TKF, the rest of the team just wasn't there. It was just Gray and Noah, which against a 4v2 with a Blaster and an E-Leader that's a little bit far away on Plat, you're not going to get the zone. So credit to CutieNK. They saw a situation, they got the picks, and they got them the game.
I think something that I noticed I think, especially once we got a look at a couple of overheads, was that I swear I noticed CutieNK, they were taking a lot of their fights on like a solo here. And I also wanted to point out, TKF only went down twice. They had 2k paint. I think they popped chumps 6 times. And then when you pop chumps 6 times, I think I really wanted to also highlight just the synergy with chumps and I think also roller here, because it provides just a more trickier terrain. And then you wonder, oh, am I shooting at a chump? Am I shooting at the roller here? And the next thing you know, you go down into snap.
I want to add on to that. It was not just strikes plus roller. It was it was chumps plus strikes plus roller. Just a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion on the side of CutieNK, which I will say they used to their advantage really well. They threw so much at PxG that unfortunately something had to break, and Nine was able to get in. They were able to at least push the advantage for their team. And also I want to shout out, like you said earlier, I want to shout out TKF, because as the backline not going down, staying safe, just painting the zone, that's being an unsung hero there, just making sure that you're that reliable beacon. You're making sure that your team, even if you are the last member remaining, they have at least a little bit of space to work with. They have a little bit of a threat range to work with, because even though it is a 1v4 in that situation, you don't want to just rush down a bow, because if you go down, you're now much further away from the rest of your team.
Yeah, especially when CutieNK was coolerless there. I think TKF was just able to hold down the line and just keep things intact. When you have the bow, you have access to a lot of solid chip damage that maybe isn't there when you're running a charger. And already the next maps have been striked down and selected. Is that Crableg Capital? And considering this is PxG's counter pick, oh Noah's about to have a time.
I mean, listen, if I'm PxG, it makes sense. You have open sight lines. You have a map that really favors that long-range threat. You have a map, while it doesn't neutralize roller, it is very not in the favor of Nine. So I think that it is very, very a good pick, honestly, for PxG. So I think this is really smart. We'll see how they play it out.
Yes, so what will be coming out of these teams now that the set has tied up? And already we're seeing PxG still sticking with their guns, and CutieNK is that Winter Rapid Blaster I see in the hands of Nine. There is no roller.
Yeah, there's no roller. Both they're going for a double backline. I mean, it makes sense. You have Nine on the weapon that's really good. A counter to chargers. You can't sit still there. And so far, we're going to see almost automatically that CutieNK is going to be able to get the zone. And you see right away that Nine just putting up pressure on Noah. Make sure that they cannot sit still. Make sure that they cannot stay in one spot. And so far, it's working out really well in their favor. As even though they went down, the rest of CutieNK is putting up a really, really good fight here. Unfortunately for them, they are going to go down to Gray getting a nice double kill, at least keep his zone neutralized for a little bit longer. But even though it's neutralized, they aren't able to recapture that zone, because unfortunately, Bow versus E-Leader, the Bow's going to win that painting fight.
Exactly. Practically nothing happened through that zone, and that's some really solid stalling, I'd say, from the members of PxG. Now that they've all rallied up, they're trying to stake their claim onto zone. We're seeing a wave breaker, we're seeing chumps, we're seeing strikes, we're seeing Gray trying to get the advance onto TKF. They now have Gray in their, they have Kai in their sight, but Kai is going to be able to get rid of Gray as PxG continues to count down. The zone is now into neutral, and it is heavily blue. Kai's last Zuka shot will not connect here. Both Kyurei and Nyanai are trying to find their angle in, but I'm not sure if they're able to at least sight out their targets just yet here. If anything, allowing PxG to walk into them may just be the strat they want, especially now that they're setting up chumps as well. They've already gotten rid of Gray, which is definitely huge, especially when you consider they're canceling out Splashdown, and they're canceling out strikes with the pick onto Soulja. But now Gray is coming back for revenge, and the run back here, the Splashdown is live. They're able to get rid of Kai, and now they have the strikes to guard them as well, and PxG are now out of their penalty and are poised to start counting down.
I mean, yeah, I just want to shout out Soulja Strikes doing a lot of work there to getting Greg, getting Gauntlet, making sure that the team had some cover to work with here. And now PxG in a really good spot here, but you have to be a little bit careful because if you extend a bit too far, you know that CutieNK will be able to just run you down. They have Cooler now, so they can move a lot faster. Greg getting a nice pick there, forcing a pick and strikes coming out, but not Kyurei says, hey, I don't mind getting a nice double, maybe a triple. No, not quite the triple, but just turning that fight completely in the favor of CutieNK, and now PxG a bit on their back foot here. You see that CutieNK, they're going to be out of their penalty and taking the lead relatively soon here. So now if you're PxG, even though time is ticking, you have a little bit of time to work with, but the more time that runs off the clock, the worse it looks for you.
Yes, especially when you've lost your anchor like that. Not just the anchor, but also your cooler as well. There's 2 members down, and not even that! 2 members just go down in a flash as CutieNK secures a wipeout here. They have entered the single digits. It's only Goss and Noah on flat right now. Not even Noah, it's only Goss, and no one will be there to stop CutieNK from getting that second knockout. It's now in CutieNK's favor.
I mean, yeah, I think that double kill kind of put the ball on it. It's unfortunate that wipeout happened for PxG because they had a little bit of momentum there, but unfortunately CutieNK, they did shut that down. They did close that door. I do want to credit them for a really nice counter pick because they knew that Noah on this map most likely not going to switch weapons. E-leader's really strong here, so having Nyanai go over to the Winter Rapid does a lot here because not only do you provide your team cooler, you provide a direct counter. You're providing a weapon that makes sure that Noah cannot kind of sit in one spot. You're making sure they cannot get as many charges off as they would like, that they can't put up that much pressure, allowing your frontliners, both K and Kure, to get a lot of damage going.
Yeah, and then I think something I also probably noticed over the course of the match is I don't really thought I saw a lot of action coming out from Soulja, especially. I think, especially on a map like Crablet, where it kind of lends itself well to AoE weapons. I think we saw a lot of really good AoE action coming out from Nyanai. I wanted to mention how no matter if they're on the blaster or the roller, they're deadly under the ledge. But I think not a lot of action from Soulja there. I'm not sure. I don't think they got any picks that round. Now already we're right back into the strike and selection here. Bluefin and Mahi Mahi have been striked off, and Mahi Mahi being striked off, that's really interesting because it's a really commonly played zones map, at least in the West. And now we're going into Mincemeat Metalworks for Game 4. Once again, a really solid map for leader.
Yeah, and this is like a direct counter pick for Roller. It's a direct counter pick for Nyanai. So now you're kind of hedging your bets that Nyanai is going to stick on that Rapid Winter, because with this map, you really don't have that many ways in. You have 2 main ways, and you have the Eater watching one through the truck, you have the rest of the team watching that right-hand side. It's going to be very hard for Nyanai if they had to switch over to Roller to get anything going, but we're going to see PxG sticking with what they had. CutieNK going over to the Carbon Roller, a bit faster of a weapon there. So maybe that double Zuka is kind of that counter to the counter, where you have these 2 special weapons that are very good at just making sure Noah can't stay in one spot, making sure that they cannot get anything going. But off rip, a nice double kill for PxG. Is going to do a lot of work here. It's going to be TKF left, and there'll be a very quick zone take.
But if you remember anything from Humpback, TKF is just able to hold down the line and ensure that they can at least provide a lot of paint and, of course, a lot of good support from the Chumps for the rest of CutieNK as they are now starting to regroup and potentially get to their run back. The Chumps are ready to rip from TKF. Nina is going to be taken down in a trade. Kai is going to be taken down by Gray. I hear the Chumps go off, but there's no front line that will be able to capitalize off of that. And they immediately pop those Chumps and are still in control. They have a little bit of penalty to work through, but PxG, they're sitting very, very comfortably. Noah on mid. We're also seeing the others just watch off their chokes. Nyanai has entered the fray here. They are able to jump out and saving their Zuka, because I think they have a second Zuka ready to go. They have the Chumps ready to go. The zone is into neutral. Kai is now jumping off into the fray here. They're trying to take the fight against Goss here, which they will not be winning, but at least they are able to cap that zone and take 2 picks. That's a solid stagger, and already CutieNK are looking to take some very aggressive positions.
Yeah, but you saw right there, Kure gets punch ups immediately here. Sitting under ledges is going to be very inadvisable against Gray, who can just, you see right there, get a nice pick there alongside Noah to kind of help make sure that it's a lot easier to get into the zone, though. Gray getting a nice double kill as well to keep their team in. Goss and Soldier both going for TKF. One going to go down. A nice trade going down as well onto Nine. And you see that PxG just keeping up this consistent pressure underneath these ledges here with Gray. They can just sit underneath here. It's a very, very daunting task to get them out there if you don't have Nine, if you don't have someone to just make them move like you see right there. And you see for the rest of PxG, they're just holding down this right hand side, but those strikes plus that Zuka, that's gonna be a very, very easy zone take.
Exactly. I think when they decided to commit too hard to the right side, the rest of CutieNK say, okay, let's just go left, let's flip that zone, let's apply the penalty. But maybe even the penalty won't even matter for PxG or CutieNK, as now they are in control. 2 members down on DK here. We're seeing Goss trying to take the fight onto Kai. The zone is in CutieNK's favor. Not even anymore. They're back into neutral, back into CutieNK's favor. Soldier has some strikes ready to rip here. They really need to establish some foothold because we've been playing a whole lot of neutral lately.
Yeah, we saw that both these teams were able to get a lot of advantage, going to get a lot of points off the board, but for the last like 30 to 40 seconds, it has been neutral. Both teams just jockeying back and forth for position here, though the Zuka may be able to change it, just forcing back Goss and Noah. And you see, even after all of that, Noah just stays steady, gets a nice pick, and they're doing a really good job kind of neutralizing the approaches from CutieNK, making sure that they cannot just recklessly run at PxG and run into their base, because if they do, they will get sniped. These strikes coming out once again, plus the Zuka, a very nice combo that CutieNK has been using to full effect to get back into the zone to possibly get to this truck as well. It's been working out really, really well in their favor. Gray, the splashdown's not gonna work, and that's gonna be the lead taken for CutieNK.
And there is that explosive momentum stealing that I was hoping to see from CutieNK here. And we see them take this lead. We're already seeing TKF have the strikes ready to, not the strikes, but the Chumps ready to go. Unfortunately, Q-Ray was a little bit out of position here as the zone folds back into neutral with 2 members of CutieNK going down. It has been flipped once more by PxG. There's no specials online for either side, and PxG are almost out of their penalty here. If they're able to get out of penalty and start counting down, they could start pressuring that lead swap, but the zone is still in neutral. It's back into control from PxG. The strikes come out, but I don't think a lot of those strikes hit the zone here. And because not a lot of those strikes hit the zone, Nyanai, as well as the rest of CutieNK, are able to once again threaten the zone going into neutral. It's back in control of PxG, back into neutral, back into PxG's hands. Kai is going to be able to get rid of Soldier. The zone's back into CutieNK's hands. There's 38 seconds and counting on the clock. There are 2 members down on each side, and I think a lot of this tempo right now is swinging potentially actually in PxG's favor. They need one heck of a push if they wanted to take this game, though, Topic.
Yeah, they're able to weather the storm the first time, but they can't do it again is the question. And I think TKF is doing a really great job. They're just keeping themselves alive. They're painting zone, they're getting chumps and making sure that their team get in, because every time they pop chumps, they pop strikes, they pop Zuka, they pop these other ways to get in, just making complete chaos for their side here. It's into overtime now. If you're CutieNK, you have to go here. You see the strikes coming out, 2 members down. There's just gonna be Gauze and Gray in the zone trying to outpaint the members of CutieNK. It's not going to work, and CutieNK will hold on by the skin skin of their teeth and take game 4 and win the set 3-1. But that was a very, very close last game.
And I think what CutieNK displayed really perfectly within those last couple seconds of the game and extending into the overtime was just ensuring that they had those priority targets taken down. They got rid of Noah, and they also got rid of I'm not sure who they got rid of, but they left it so that at least I think they wanted to make sure that the Blaster was one of the last two people standing, because unfortunately, Blaster cannot paint the zone that efficiently. And once again, really got to give a shout out to TKF here. 2,600 paints, and then more than just 6 chumps, 10 chumps have been popped in this game.
I mean, I think that little stat line right there just really shows how much paint matters here. And not just to go off CutieNK, Goss for PxG went 17-5 with 2k paint and 8 coolers. So a lot of paint going down on the field is very helpful here. Unfortunately for PxG, it's just every time that those chumps came out from TKF, guess what was followed up by? It was followed by Curie's tri-strikes. It was also followed up by possibly a Zuka, even though that Zuka never came. I think we saw it multiple times. Zuka never came immediately after the strikes. It came off to the side. You saw either K or Nine, they would drop to the side and then pop Zuka from there, just giving a little bit more pressure and forcing the members of PxG off to that left-hand side, which you're ready to take full advantage of, as now you have the members trapped. They were an easy couple picks away from going down.
And just speaking of being trapped here, I think another thing that I wanted to point out, was that whenever Goss kind of went down, I think it was basically just PxG hitting the brakes, because once your cooler option goes down, and also once, I'd say, a main source of paint for your team goes down, you really want to play carefully. But then that comes at a risk of also just CutieNK taking a lot more aggressive positions. When you have Kai, when you have Kyurei, when you have Nine in these aggressive positions, and when you're trying to play for a regroup and trying to go for a retake, things are already stacked up against you here. And then slowly, CutieNK started to win the neutral state here. And then they stole the momentum, I think, around, I'd say, the 30-second mark. And even when overtime happened, CutieNK was there to steal it once again. And that is what got them that last game. And that's what allowed them to take the set.
Yeah, and one last thing before we log off is that Kyurei, you saw at the very end there, they backed up a bit. They held strikes, so when overtime hit, they were able to pop those strikes, and the rest of the team, both Nene and K, were there to just advance off of that and just get the zone and just fight for it. And like you said a little bit earlier, they left Gray alive, the Blaster in the zone, which was very hard to outpaint all the members of CutieNK. So just good strategy from CutieNK there.
Good strategy indeed, and I think that is where this set of Global Gauntlet Rewound will wrap up. But that's not the end of Global Gauntlet Rewound. There's a whole playlist chock full of unstreamed Global Gauntlet sets for you to watch. So there's a whole lot more Global Gauntlet out for you if you want to. So thank you for watching.
Yep.